Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to Open Mic here on my YouTube channel now. Every day on the John Campea Show, which is our main show in the mornings, our movie news show, we save a little bit of time for some live questions. But here on Open Mic, that's all we do is take live questions. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. Welcome to my YouTube channel. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about our favorite things in the world, movies, maybe a little bit of television, maybe a little bit of other stuff as well. It's all up to you guys. You guys are programming it right now. So, without any further ado, actually, you know what? Before I go into anything else, let me see if I can find this here quick. Before I go into anything else, today is a special day, actually. 8 years ago today, I got married to this woman. Ann and I got married 8 years ago today. Today is our anniversary, and this was a picture taken on our wedding day. And that wasn't a posed picture. That was just the photographer was outside the window, saw us talking to each other, and took that picture. So I want to say to Ann, happy anniversary. She's at work right now, but sometimes she watches the shows when she's at work. So just in case she's watching, love you, baby. And we're going to go out tonight and celebrate our anniversary. So yeah, I just wanted to share that with you guys. It's our anniversary. So there you go. Okay, with that out of the way, let's dive in to some of your questions. And we'll start off with Adamus95, who writes, would love to see a John Wayne biopic. You know what? It's an interesting one. Honestly, other than a bunch of his movies, I don't actually know much about John Wayne. I really don't. I know very little about the life of John Wayne. So while he's a big, important, famous movie star, I have no idea if he has like a remotely interesting story to his life that would warrant a biopic. Maybe it's the most fascinating of all time. I just don't know. But now that you bring it up, I gotta admit, I really don't know much about John Wayne. So it's an interesting idea. So biopic on John Wayne, I mean, his name still today carries tons of clout. I mean, there are tons of people out there who have never seen a John Wayne movie in their life. But if you say John Wayne, they know exactly who you're talking about. So that's a lot of clout. So yeah, I actually know, now that you mention it, I'm kind of surprised there hasn't been one yet. Maybe that's something they'll look at sometime. All right. The Incredible Hulk writes, why does Disney not use Mickey Mouse more in film or television? With such a recognizable IP, is this a missed opportunity? No, it is not a missed opportunity. You can't use Mickey Mouse. You can't. Mickey Mouse is the defining symbol of Disney. You have to protect the image, the appearance, and the esteem and the clout and everything surrounding that symbol. You have to protect it at all costs. What you cannot do is take Mickey Mouse, make a Mickey Mouse movie and have the movie suck despite your best efforts. Now you have tarnished the image of that symbol. And Mickey is the symbol of Disneyland. He's just that. You don't run around fast and loose. Oh, let's make a quick buck right now and put Mickey Mouse in a movie and make a quick buck, but potentially hurt ourselves long term by damaging the image and the appearance of this property. You got to be very careful with it. That's why you don't see Warner Brothers letting CW or anybody else just run fast and loose with the Batman character. Because I've had that discussion with friends of mine. It's like, Batman's their most important character. Why don't you put him in the TV shows? Because he's their most important character. And you have to be extra cautious with that and protect that IP. Mickey Mouse, if you are going to use him in anything, you have to play it completely safe. Because the character of Mickey Mouse right now, if you're Disney, is worth so much more to you just as the symbol of your company than he would be in any one movie or any one TV show. Yeah, you can make a quick buck, but at the risk of damaging the true value of the Mickey Mouse character, which is the living embodiment of Disney, right? So yeah, you got to protect that, man. That's why they don't do it. It is not a missed opportunity. It's being smart. It's being wise, and it's thinking long-term rather than just short-term gain. You know what I'm saying? So that's why they don't do that. All right. Vrinder Singh writes, okay, I admit it. Crawl is my guilty pleasure. There is nothing to feel guilty over Crawl with. I remember once I made I think it was for Halloween, but I made a little replica Krull I can't remember the name of the weapon, the throwing star, basically, right? So I made my own kind of version of it. It was terrible. I mean, I was terrible at it. But I remember I made my own thing of that and a little bit. Awesome. I love Krull. Krull was a huge favorite of mine when I was a kid. Are you kidding? Get out of here with this guilty pleasure. It's not guilty. It's a fun movie. Does it stand up to today? No, absolutely not. But it's a fun movie. I will always have fond memories of Krull. Get out of here with that guilty pleasure stuff. Love Krull and be proud of it. All right, History Soup writes, if Amazon gets Lucifer, how many episodes do you think? Good question. Yeah. Now, look, I'll take Lucifer any way I can. For those of you who don't remember, we talked about it on the John Campea show earlier. Amazon has confirmed they are in some talks. They're interested in picking up Lucifer, which would be awesome because the show is great. And Fox just stupidly canceled it, despite the fact that it had better ratings than other shows that Fox renewed. I still don't understand that. But anyway, so Amazon is in talks. They're interested in picking up Lucifer. So interesting question. If they do get it, and if they do go ahead and pick up Lucifer, how many episodes? I'm thinking they'll probably go from 20 plus episodes, probably down to maybe 10 or 12. I think they take Lucifer down to a 10 or 12 episode series, which it really hurts because Lucifer, I don't know, since it's so character driven and dialogue driven and all that kind of stuff, I want more. But Amazon, if anybody from Amazon is watching this, I'll take it. I mean, look, even if you make it 8 episode season, but I will take 8 episodes over nothing. So honestly, if Amazon does pick it up, they're not going to go with the 2022 episode run, clearly, because that's not what these types of networks do. It'll probably be a 10, I'm guessing it would be 10 to 12 episodes, hopefully 12, but I'll take it. I will totally take it. I'm all on board for it. Amazon, come through. So I'm just kind of keeping my eye on my news feeds, like frantically waiting, like reload. Is there any news about Amazon pulling the trigger and picking up Lucifer? Keeping my eyes open for it. As soon as I hear anything about it, guys, I will let you know as well. All right, let's move on here. Luna Comics writes, I really hope Aquaman is like Game of Thrones underwater. How epic do you think the Aquaman movie is going to be? I don't know. I don't think they're going to do Game of Thrones underwater. Number one, Game of Thrones is established and lays thing over, 40 episodes. I mean, you don't have that for this. So when you say make it like Game of Thrones, well, in what way? I'm just not really sure. So I'm not sure they're going for Game of Thrones underwater. How epic will it be? I don't know. And honestly, I don't need, if they do kind of bring that, and epicness is kind of that's a misnomer of a term because to everybody, the term epic means something a little bit different. So what you think means epic, somebody else may not. What I'm thinking, like when I think of epics, I think of like Cleopatra and stuff like that. Do I need Aquaman to be like that? Nope, I don't need it to be like that. If it is, great, but if it's not, doesn't need to be. Just make it compelling. Make me like, I already like Jason Momoa's Arthur, but make me like the character. Give me a good story for him to dwell in. Execute it well. Make it engaging. Make it fun. Make it enjoyable. And I'm happy. I don't care if you make it like Game of Thrones. I don't care if you make it like the Flintstones. Just execute it well. Have some good humor. Some good action. Make me feel a sense of stakes, no matter whether it's saving the world or just save this seashell. Whatever it is, make me feel a sense of stakes, whatever the scale of the stakes are, and execute well. If you do that, I'm happy. I think everybody will be happy. So it doesn't need to be like Game of Thrones. If that's what they go for, fine. But I don't see James Wan going for something like that, to be honest. And if they do, great. But if they don't, I don't think that's any skin off our nose. Just make it good. Just make it good. That's all we're asking for. I mean, you got a great director on board. You've got the right guy in the lead role. You got Mara in there, which is nice. You got Volko. You got all these great characters. Great. You got all the pieces of the puzzle. Now just make a nice movie. That's all it's got to be, and I will be completely happy with it. Let's see. Number Thor writes, after seeing Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, it was disappointing for me and not as good as the first Jurassic World. But do you think after seeing this that we will get a Jurassic World 3. Oh, I think it's quite superior to the first Jurassic World. Nowhere near as good as the first Jurassic Park. Then again, none of the movies in this series have been anywhere near as good as the first Jurassic Park. And actually, that's what I said in my review, too. I said, look, this movie fails to capture the magic of the first Jurassic Park movie. Fine. But I thought it had more adventure to it. I was into it more than I was the first one. And I didn't mind the first Jurassic World. But I do think that this one, Fallen Kingdom, I think is a better movie than Jurassic World. I think it's better than the first Jurassic World. Not as good as the first Jurassic Park, not even in the same conversation. But I had fun with it. And personally, I do think it was a better one. Now, on to the question about, do we think we'll get a Jurassic World 3? It all depends on the box office results of this Jurassic World. If this Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom joins the $1 billion club, then you're damn right we're getting a Jurassic World 3. If Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom joins the $1 billion club, I will even say it doesn't even quite have to make $1 billion. I think if Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom makes $850 million, I think if Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom makes $850 million, I can guarantee you there will be a Jurassic World 3. Guaranteed. If it makes about $700 million, they might go, okay, we made money, but let's call it a day. Maybe. But if they make over $850 million, they'll make a third one. Yeah, there's just too much money to be left on the table for that. And once you see Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, you know the door is left open for a third one. So with some interesting ideas for a third one, too. I'm not going to go into details because I don't want to spoil anything. But yeah, so summing up, I think this one's better than the first Jurassic World, but nowhere near as good as Jurassic Park. Secondly, yeah, I can see them. Whether they'll do a third one will all depend on the box office results. If it gets over $850 million, I can pretty much guarantee they're going to do a third one. If it makes anywhere under that, it becomes questionable. So we'll have to just kind of wait and see, I guess, a little bit. Let's see. Hector Jeter writes, how awkward do you think it was at the premiere of Battlefield Earth when the end credits came up? Fake applause, complete silence as everybody's leaving. I'm not even sure if they did a world premiere for it, to be honest with you. I'm not saying they didn't. I'm just saying I don't know. But that would have been awkward because, like, look, if you're the studio, you got to know if you have one of the all-time epically horrible films ever made, you know when it's done. I mean, maybe you don't realize it as you're making the film, but when it's done and you're a studio executive and you're looking at it, you know. You get that sense in your, oh my God, did we really just make this movie? I feel that same way whenever I try to draw anything. Oh my God, did I do that? In a bad way? I don't know, the movie's just so bad. Look, I've told this story before, so forgive me if you've already heard me tell, but I gotta tell the story again. I remember watching Battlefield Earth, and we were excited about it because I was working in a visual effects company at the time that the movie came out. And actually somebody we knew, I didn't personally know them, but one of the other key people in our company knew somebody, one of the people who worked on the film in the visual effects area, right? And this was a big, epic sci-fi, big visual effects fest kind of a movie. So obviously we were all excited about it. We were going to go see it. And I remember being in that theater, and I don't even wear a watch. And sitting in the theater after about 15 minutes in the movie, I kept doing this just by instinct, just by gut reaction going, wait a minute, I'm not even wearing a watch. And then like 10 minutes later, again, the instinct kicks in to check my watch, see how long is this bloody thing? And I remember as I'm sitting in this theater in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada, sitting in this theater watching Battlefield Earth, the movie ends and the end credits start. And I swear to God, nobody in the theater moved. Normally, when the end credits start to roll, people gather their coats, they get their things together, standing up, getting ready to, and they start shuffling out of chairs. When this movie ended, it was like there was 500 people, all were like deer caught in the headlights. They were just like in a good 15 seconds. Which doesn't sound like much, but it feels like an eternity. A good 15 seconds. Nobody moved. Nobody budged as these credits started to roll because it was all like, We just witnessed some horrible crime against humanity and we didn't know what to do about it. And in the midst of the dead silence, I swear to God, this is all completely true. In the midst of the dead silence of this theater, nobody's saying a peep, nobody's stirring, nobody's moving. Somebody up near the front of the theater yells out after about 15 seconds of this awkward silence, "What the hell was that?" And the whole theater just erupted into laughter. Because whoever that one saint was that was sitting at the front of that theater, and I've never met the person in my life, but if I did, I would shake their hand, kind of summed up what everybody in that theater was saying. What the hell was that? Like everybody just, and then erupted in laughter at that point. It's a movie that's so epically bad, you can't even put it into words. And that's why when people ask me about the worst films ever made, I say there is the unholy trinity of the absolute worst big studio wide release films of all time. And that is Highlander 2, that is Catwoman, and that is Battlefield Earth. And to this day, that stands with me. Anyway, but if there was a premiere, I imagine it would have been pretty awkward. Maybe the exact same thing happened. Who knows? Hector Jeter follows up. Have you got to see Upgrade or Hereditary yet? Nope. I've been busy working every night. I've been home working every night. And then finally around 9 or 10 o'clock, I get a little bit of time to play some Warcraft. And that's been about it. So, and obviously tonight, I'm not going to get a chance to go see either one of those because I'm going to go, Ann and I are having anniversary dinner tonight. We're going out to a nice place and having dinner. So, nope. Still haven't had a chance to watch those films yet. John K. writes, judge has released a decision on the AT&T and Warner Brothers deal. Yes, they have. And the judge has cleared the deal. AT&T is taking over Time Warner. So AT&T, once all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed, I'm sure there's still going to be a little bit of time for it to get all in motion. But AT&T are the brand new owners of Time Warner. That will include Warner Brothers. So AT&T is going to be in charge of Warner Brothers. I have a feeling Kevin Tsujihara is not going to be the CEO of Warner Brothers for much longer. I don't know that for sure. No one's told me that. I think they're probably going to install somebody else to be the head of Warner Brothers. So, that's happening. Now, what does this mean for the Fox and Disney deal? Not a lot, to be honest with you. First of all, the Fox shareholders may turn down the Disney deal without the government getting involved at all. Because remember, Comcast is telling Fox shareholders, hey, we're going to offer you more money than Disney is. And that's all that Fox shareholders care about, is how much money am I going to put in my pocket? Now, I'll mention this too. There was this weird theory going around out there that made absolutely no sense whatsoever. And I saw a couple of YouTube channels run with this. Nobody meant anything bad by it. It's just there's a fundamentally flawed problem with it. And the idea was this. Well, Fox shareholder, because Disney is offering to pay Fox shareholders in Disney stock, whereas Comcast is coming along and offering cash money, right? And offering more cash than what Disney's offering in stock. So there was this really weird theory that went around that people started buying into, is that, well, the Fox shareholders are going to want to take the Disney deal anyway because Disney stock could go up and make more money long term. Yeah, but if the Fox shareholders took the Comcast deal, they'll get more money. And if they want Disney stock, they can just use that money to buy Disney stock. It's like Disney's offering you $1 million in stock. Okay. Comcast, let's say you're a Fox shareholder. And I'm just making up these numbers for the sake of the example, okay? Let's say you're a Fox shareholder. And Disney comes along and offers you $1 million in stock, in Disney stock. That stock may go up in the future. It might go down, but it might go up. Who knows? But now let's say I'm Comcast and I come to you and say, okay, they're offering you $1 million in stock. Okay, cool. I'll offer you $1.2 million in cash. What are you going to do? You're going to take my offer. Why? Well, if you want Disney stock, you can take $1 million that I give you out of the 1.2 and buy $1 million in Disney stock. There, now you've got $1 million in Disney stock. But by taking my deal, not only do you have the Disney stock, you also got $200,000 in cash burning a hole in your pocket. So what's the better deal? Clearly the Comcast deal. Now, what the final offers from Disney and Comcast are ultimately going to be, we got to wait around and find out. But this notion that's been floated around out there that, oh, Fox shareholders will want to take the Disney stock because that stock could go up. Okay, fine. Then they can just buy Disney stock with the Comcast cash and still have money left over. So, yeah. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see if Disney sweetens the deal. We'll have to see if Comcast then tries to create a bidding war. It's still up in the air. I think the biggest hurdle right now, especially with AT&T Time Warner merger going through, now the biggest hurdle for a potential Fox Disney deal is the Fox shareholders themselves. Are they going to be okay with taking the Disney deal? Or are they going to want that extra money? Because that's what it all comes down to. And it doesn't matter what the Fox executives want. All that matters is what the Fox shareholders want. That's why the shareholders are going to vote on it, and we'll see what happens. It's going to get interesting, but it is neat that but at least now we know there's one hurdle that's kind of out of the way. And by the way, even though this deal's gone through, if the Disney and Fox deal gets approved by the Fox shareholders, the government could still sue to stop it. And maybe that one wins. But it does help that the AT&T deal did go through. It helps the situation. But so many more hurdles still to go through. This thing is a long way from being over. Not the AT&T Time Warner one. That one's over now. That's going through. The Fox Disney Comcast drama is still just getting started. All right. The number Thor writes, who would you like to see as a villain in Matt Reeves' Batman movies? I would like Mr. Freeze done properly. I think he could be one of the greatest Batman movie villains if done right. Your thought? It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. It's completely irrelevant. It doesn't matter. You could put in the greatest comic book villain in the world. If it's not written right, it won't matter. You can put in a brand new no-name villain, but if you write him awesome, then he's going to become the best Batman villain of all time. So it doesn't matter. Honestly, it doesn't matter. Sure, Mr. Freeze could be great. The Penguin could be great. The Time Master could be great. The Shoemaker could be great. I mean, if they're written properly and done right, they'd be epic, all-time greatest comic book villain ever. So I really don't care. So if Matt Reeves comes along and says, I'm making my supervillain, the Wonder Twins. Yep, the Wonder Twins from the old Justice League cartoon show. I'm going to have a twist on them and say they're villains, and they're going to be my villains. And then a lot of us will go, well, that's stupid, but it's Matt Reeves. In his hands, he could make them the greatest villains Batman has ever faced. And it could be the greatest thing ever. So, honestly, I really don't care. If they make Mr. Freeze, fine. I have a feeling they might avoid it just because of how bad Mr. Freeze came across in the George Clooney movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Let's put him on the ice. They may want to avoid that. Because, look, if you make Mr. Freeze the villain, that's all the jokes are going to be about until the movie comes out. The movie's going to be plagued with Mr. Freeze jokes. Right? So I don't know that they'd want to go that route. Now, I'm not saying that the character's not great in the comics and you couldn't do something cool with him, but you do know, right, that if they make Mr. Freeze, then for the 8 months that lead up to the movie coming out, it's going to be all Mr. Freeze jokes. So, but at the end of the day, I don't care. Whatever character Matt Reeves says he's building his villain around, that's fine with me. But just because you make it, just like, the Fantastic Four movies have had Doctor Doom, one of the greatest comic book villains of all time, but it didn't help their movies because he wasn't written right. And that's all that matters. So personally, I really don't care. If it makes it Mr. Freeze, fine, because I trust Matt Reeves. If he makes it the Penguin, fine. If he makes it the Wonder Twins, fine. If he makes it Deathstroke, fine. I mean, I really don't care. Whatever he's going to do, I'm just going to trust that he's going to write it well. And it's going to turn out fine. So that's just kind of how I feel about it. That's all. Let's see. Murray Reich writes, $2 billion, baby. Yes, so Avengers Infinity War, it took a little longer than we thought, but Avengers Infinity War has now officially crossed the $2 billion mark, becoming only the fourth film in cinematic history to cross the $2 billion line. It's a huge thing. It's huge. Now, what else is pretty much now official is that it's not going to catch Star Wars The Force Awakens. It's actually going to come about $50 to $60 million short. So it's not going to catch Star Wars The Force Awakens. Star Wars The Force Awakens is now firmly safe as the number 3 biggest all-time film, ahead of Avengers Infinity War. But Avengers Infinity War did cross that symbolic line. $2 billion film. Well done, everybody over there. And congratulations to everybody who's involved with that, because that's huge. That's absolutely huge. Let's see. AFK 2010 writes, Freddie Mercury used to sit on Darth Vader's shoulders entering shows. Will that figure into the movie, or is it very hard to get the rights for that? I don't think it's very hard to get the rights for that, because I don't think you need to get the rights for that. If that's what historically happened, you can show that. So I don't, I could be wrong, but I don't think there's a rights issue there at all. I honestly don't. I think if that's what actually happened, then you can portray that in your film. But again, I'm just speaking from what I understand, and I could be wrong about that. But I believe it would be fair use and interpretation of the events of history. If he, in history, actually, that's what he did. He came out on stage, and you're showing what happened, then you should be able to show that it shouldn't be a rights issue. Whether or not the filmmakers are going to do that or not, I have no idea. But I don't think it would be a problem for them to do it if they did. So as long as you didn't try to use Darth Vader as a character in your film, that becomes different. But if it's just that, hey, he used to come out sitting on the shoulders of a guy dressed in a Darth Vader costume, there shouldn't be a rights issue there. That should be fine, I would think. Jar Jar Binks writes, when Misa standalone movie coming? Somebody wants to do it. Somewhere out there, somebody wants to do that. Number Thor writes, do you think they will put the Borg in the JJ Star Trek universe, as they are the ultimate foe in the Star Trek universe? Your thoughts? Well, my thoughts, first, I'm going to disagree with you wholeheartedly. The quintessential villains of Star Trek, the ultimate villains of Star Trek, is the Klingon Empire. Those are your ultimate antagonists. Now, yes, Borg are kind of like a universe eradicating kind of plague. They're big, for sure. But when you think Star Trek and you think villains, you think Klingons. Yes, you have Borg. Yes, you have Romulans. Yes, you have... what was the name of the Empire in Deep Space Nine that they were constantly... that Dukat. What was the name of Dukat's race? Why am I forgetting the name of Dukat's race? Anyway, yes, you have Ferengi, and yes, you have all these other ones as well. But when you think Star Trek and you think villains, you think the Klingons. Now, but let's get back to the question. Could we see JJ using Borg? I don't know, for a couple of reasons. Number one is the time era that it takes place in. Remember, it's not until the next generation that that the Borg become aware of the Federation and the Borg become aware of Earth and that sector of space, right? If I'm remembering it correctly. So that kind of throws that out. Although then that came into question in one of them. I think, what was the name of that one Star Trek movie? Not Voyage Home. The one where they create warp drive. Anyway, I'm forgetting the name of the movie. I'm freezing on it for a second. So, something cardigans. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So this time, but the other thing is, I don't know that they want us to go that route. Now, look, we've got 2 Star Trek films in the works right now. We've got a 4th Star Trek film that's going to be directed by a female director. First Star Trek film in history that's going to be directed by a female director, by the way. And then we've got the one that apparently is being worked on that is based on Quentin Tarantino's pitch. That Quentin Tarantino may or may not direct. That may or may not even happen. We don't know yet. But it's certainly there as an option. I mean, the Borg are a great villain because they are fascinating. And while I like the Borg Queen actually took something away from the mythos of the Borg to me a little bit. But that aside, I actually quite like the Borg. I think you could use them. I don't think they probably have any plans for them in the next 2 films. But if the franchise lasts beyond that, I think it totally becomes possible that we could see them in this universe. We'll have to wait and see. All right. Next up, ZOMG Ruler writes, with Lasseter leaving, will this affect the animation division? Oh, I'm sure it will. Yeah. John Lasseter, for those you don't know, he's been on leave for the past 8 or 9 months from Disney. And now it's official. At the end of the year, he's officially gone. And in the meantime, he's going to be an advisor or something like that. So long and short of it, John Lasseter's gone. Will it affect the animation division? Remember, John Lasseter was the head of both Pixar and the head of Disney Animation. He was the head of both of them. So him leaving is going to have an effect. There's no doubt. There's going to be an effect. However, there are still a lot of like Pixar old guard that are there and respected that I think you're going to see some continuity as well. So is there going to be an impact? Yeah, I have no doubt there's going to be an impact. But maybe the impact will be positive. Maybe it'll be negative. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But there will be an impact. I don't know what the impact is yet. I don't know if we're going to see the impact on screen or if it's going to be more behind the scenes. But you can't take a guy like John Lasseter, who created all of that stuff and really was the creative force behind getting Pixar to where it is and taking Disney animation to where it's become at this point, and remove him and not have there be any impact. Clearly, there's going to be impact. How much or how little, we'll have to kind of wait and see. Let's see. Mac Sauce writes, my friends and I think DC should just give us an established Justice League with a new cast. We think that this will please comic fans. What do you think? No. I think it doesn't matter if you do that. If the movie's not good, it's not going to please anybody. It all comes down. Look, I keep saying winning cures everything, right? Winning cures everything. Now, if you do this and you put out a great movie, yes, that will make everybody happy. But if you do this and you put out a divisive movie or a bad movie, then it's not going to help anything. Now, I have been saying for a long time that I actually kind of thought that's how the DCU should have kicked off. They should have done the opposite of what Marvel did. Yes, what Marvel did worked for them. That's great. But that doesn't mean now that's the formula for success. No. I think that what Marvel did was good for Marvel. I always thought that the DCU should have started off with an established Justice League universe and spun off your universe from there. I always felt that. I mean, go back and watch the oldest of my shows. I've always advocated for that. That's kind of what I liked with the idea of Justice League Mortal. There was some appeal for Justice League Mortal there as well. And then there was that script leak about what Justice League was going to be. It was going to be bonkers and nuts, and it could have been a hot mess, but it could have been awesome at the same time. I mean, it's all about the execution. So I'm with you, Mac. I'm totally with you. Like, I kind of think that way too. But it would be naive of us to think that, if you just do this formula, then everybody will be happy. No, it's all about whether the movie's any good or not. You know, the reason the MCU worked out is not because they did an Iron Man movie first, it's because they made one hell of a beloved Iron Man movie. That's why it worked. It's not because they did an Iron Man movie, it's because they made an amazing, beloved Iron Man movie. That's why it worked. It's fine that the DCU launched with Man of Steel. I love Man of Steel. You know me. I think it's in the top 10 of the best comic book movies of all time. However, there's a lot of people out there who disagree with me, and a lot of people who don't like it. The DCU didn't fail to work or fail to reach that same level of success because they did a Superman standalone movie. It's because they did a Superman standalone movie that failed to become beloved amongst the vast majority of the audience. That's why it didn't work. So yeah, you relaunch. I would love for them to reboot the DCU, start with an established Justice League movie, make it kick out, all that kind of stuff. You can do that, that's fine. But if the movie isn't amazing and win everybody over and become beloved, then it doesn't matter what formula you use. It's all about execution, right? So remember, I'm on your side here. I would love to see them do this. But let's not fool ourselves into believing that if they just do this formulae, then that will make it work and everybody will be happy. No, that's not the case. That's not the case. You make an awesome, beloved movie, then it doesn't matter what formula you use, people will be happy. It's all, but again, Mac, I'm on your side. I want to see them reboot it, and I'd love to see them reboot it with a reestablished Justice League. That would be great. Let's see. Paul writes, do you think that there is a reason why Vin Diesel leaves franchises after the first part and then returns? Fast and Furious, Triple X. Does he want to highlight his importance? No, I think he did the same thing that Sylvester Stallone did. I think he left because he thought he was big aside from those franchises. I think he left because maybe he didn't think there was a future in those franchises. I think he left because he thought he was going on to bigger and better things. And then what happened with Sylvester Stallone? Stallone did a whole bunch of movies and none of them became big or successful. And eventually he went back to what was successful for him. He went back to Rocky and he went back to Rambo. I think Vin Diesel, there's a lot of the same thing. I thought Vin Diesel was becoming a star and he did what was probably a good gamble. Just to try to not just get attached to certain franchises, but I'm a big movie star. I want to move it. And I think it was the right move to make. Didn't quite work out that way. For whatever reason, his representation didn't get him connected to the right projects. And he was just never as big as he was with those other franchises. And then he did what Stallone eventually did, which was to circle back and come back to those franchises. And the franchises work better with him, and he works better with those franchises. So he had success. I think it was a good gamble for him to take. It just didn't happen to work out, and that's fine. But no, I don't think Vin Diesel for 1 second thought, I'm not going to do Fast and Furious 2 or 3 to highlight my own importance. Like, no, I don't think he felt that at all. I don't think that was ever part of his thinking. I just thought he was like, hey, I did that movie. I want to explore other aspects of my career. I want to see if I can do these other things as well. So I'm moving on from things I already did. And then when he found that, hey, you know what, I could have more success and I could bring more success if I turn back around, go back to some of these other franchises, I can have more success. The franchise can have more success. And that was just a smart move. I don't think it had anything to do with ego. I don't think it had anything to do with him going, I'm so important, I'm going to show how important I am. I don't think that's the case. I think it's just, he wanted to expand his career. He took a step out, tried a couple things that some worked, some didn't. And then he decided, you know what? I can have great success if I go back to what was working for me before. We've seen Stallone do it. We've seen Schwarzenegger trying it. So it's not a bad move, actually. All right. D. Wathers writes, John, you have to watch the Sony E3 presentation. Oh, I plan on it. I think Ann and I probably tonight are going to sit down and watch some of the E3 presentation stuff on YouTube tonight. James Welsh writes, how about Brad Bird take over Pixar? Ridiculous. Why? Because he's a good director? I love Brad Bird. Huge Brad Bird fan. He's not an executive. He's not a film studio executive. To me, that's as ridiculous. And I love Brad Bird. But that's as ridiculous as the notion of, well, hey, we know who Dave Filoni is. Let's make Dave Filoni the president of Lucasfilm. The guy has zero experience making live action films and has zero experience, executive experience of a movie studio. And you want to give him the top executive position in the studio? How does that make any sense? Well, we know who he is. Well, you don't need to know who it is. So I feel the same way about Brad Bird. No, I'm not interested in Brad Bird becoming. There are plenty of executives there that have built Pixar, that have built the Disney Animation Studio, that aren't John Lasseter, who've worked under John Lasseter. Plenty of executives there who know how that place works, know how to run things as an executives. You make them. You may not know what their names are, but that's not what's important. Put the best person in the position, whether they're famous or not. So so that's why, James, I'd say no. I don't want Brad Bird taking over Pixar. I'm more than happy just to have Brad Bird continue to direct movies. Don't make him the head of Pixar. Let's see. AFCA 2010 writes, IndieWire reports that Bryan Singer will have the credits over Fletcher. Reactions to this. So for those of you who don't know what he's talking about, it's the Bohemian Rhapsody movie that's coming out about Queen, right? So for those of you who didn't know, Bryan Singer was directing that film, and then like 80% of the way into filming the movie, Fox fired him and brought in this other guy. So it got announced today, the reports, we're going to talk about this more on the John Campea show tomorrow, but the reports come out that Bryan Singer is getting director credit on the movie. I can't remember if he's getting sole director credit, if he's getting co-director credit, but whatever, he is getting director credit on that. It's important to understand here, if there's any dispute about who should get director credit, the studio doesn't decide who gets director credit. The studio doesn't decide. It's the Directors Guild of America, the DGA. They're the ones who decide. That's in their contract. That's in the DGA's contract with the MPAA. Is that in any case, if there's a dispute about who should get director's credit, it's up to the DGA. Much like if there's any dispute about who gets writing credit, it's up to the WGA. So if this thing was disputed, what happened here is that either the studio said, okay, yes, it's clear that Bryan Singer directed most of this film, therefore he should get the credit. Or maybe, I didn't read the full report yet, so I'm not sure. Maybe they tried to remove him as from director credit, and he went to the DGA and said, hey, wait a minute, they're trying to remove me as director credit, and I directed most of that film. And the DGA said, tough, he gets director credit. So as far as my reaction to this, if he directed most of the movie, then he should be the director of note. He should be the director of credit. It's just like that. The same reason why, Lord and Miller may have gotten 80% of the way into shooting Solo, a Star Wars story. But the fact of the matter is very little of what they shot ended up on the final screen. The DGA assessed that most of this film from start to finish is now Ron Howard's. He redid most of this thing. It's his movie. He gets director credit. So just because, but in this situation, they got about 80% of the way or 75% of the way into filming Bohemian Rhapsody. And they brought in another guy just to finish it up, but they didn't tear up everything that Bryan Singer did and reshoot it all. They used everything he did, and they just finished without him. But if he did direct most of that film, then he should get director's credit. So I'm all for that, actually. Pardon me. Okay, let's move on here. Ben Rayner writes, keep one, lose one. Wizard of Oz or Mary Poppins? Oh, that's easy for me. Keep Wizard of Oz, lose Mary Poppins. It doesn't mean I dislike Mary Poppins, not at all. But Wizard of Oz, some people, for them, Mary Poppins has that place right here. For me, it's Wizard of Oz. That's the place that I have forever embedded right here. I like Mary Poppins. I like Mary Poppins very much. But compared to Wizard of Oz, no way. Yeah, so that's, to me, is a no-brainer. I would absolutely keep Wizard of Oz, and sadly would have to lose Mary Poppins, but there's no way I'm losing Wizard of Oz. Like, no way. Number Thor writes, your favorite Dolph Lundgren movie? Oh, that's easy. Rocky IV. Rocky IV. Now, yes, you've got the classic Dolph Lundgren Punisher. Yes, you've got him in the Expendables movies. Yes, what was that one he did with Grace Jones? At any rate, but it's Rocky IV. Come on. That is the best movie that Dolph Lundgren has been in, by far. And that he's, I must break you. Yeah. So for me, if you're asking me the question, for me, there's no question whatsoever. It's easily Rocky IV for me. Okay. Let's see here. Rodney Hurd writes, is that a Star Wars Black Series Darth Vader helmet I see? You're talking about right there. I see on yourself, John. If so, nice. Got one too, my fellow Star Wars brother. Yep, Ann brought that big bad boy home for me. I'll bring it out next time and show it. It's amazing. And it actually comes apart in 3 pieces, and you can put it on your head, and it has a voice modulator, and all. It's amazing. It's just fantastic. So that's him sitting right there. I'll pull it out next time for you guys to have a closer look at it. You know what I'm thinking about doing? Tell me if you think this is a good idea or stupid, because it might be stupid. I'm just thinking about doing one little video a day where I just highlight one of my collectibles, one of my little toys. Whether it's like, 30 days in a row I show you, say, today's pop is my C-3PO pop. And here's why I like C-3PO. And it'd be like a 30-second video, but doing just a little 30-second video on each one of the things that I have here. So, I'll pull out, pull out maybe a hot toy, pull out a bunch of pops, pull out some of the other stuff like my Deadpool, my Flash, my Batman, my Stormtroopers, whatever, the Darth Vader helmet, and just pull them out and show off something like a little 30-second video every day or so, just to talk about why I have this little thing. I don't know. Maybe it'll be fun. Maybe it'll be stupid. I don't know, but maybe it's something I'll try. Let's see. Oops, took a jump. Where are we? Here we go. Murray Reich writes, on the MoviePass site, I'm trying to wrap my head around why anybody would pay $8 a month offer, which only gives you 3 movies as opposed to $10, which gives you unlimited. Only $2 difference. Yeah, but the other difference is that with the $7.99 or $8 a month offer, you also get a special version of, you get the premium iHeartRadio, right? So there's added value. So you can pay $8 a month, get 3 movies, plus this premium version of iHeartRadio. Or you can pay $10 a month for quote-unquote unlimited. You can only see each movie once, but still quote-unquote unlimited movies, but no iHeartRadio. So I can see to some people who don't go to more than 2 or 3 movies a month, and they like listening to digital streaming music, I can see, not for me personally, but I could see why to some people that would be the better offer. It's like, yeah, I mean, I'm only saving $2 or $3, but it doesn't matter if I have the MoviePass card or not. I only have time to go to see 1 or 2 or 3 movies this month. And I like listening to iHeartRadio in my car every day. So to people like that, the $8 offer would be a better offer. Not for me. Apparently, Murray, not for you either. But I can see how there would be some people out there that would appeal to them. Yeah, I could totally see. Because I guarantee you, most MoviePass fans don't use their MoviePass more than 4 times a month. There's certainly a bunch of us who do, but I'm sure most people don't go to more than 4 a month. So, yeah, if you're into your digital streaming music and stuff like that, that might be appealing to you. Not me, but I can see it being appealing to other people. Okay, let's move on here. MCV, Multi-Comic Verse, writes, how do you and Ann decide who does the dishes and when? It's just if I see there are dishes that need to be done, I just do them. Yeah, I mean, I just did dishes a little bit earlier today. There you go. Sometimes, it's about whichever one of us is up. Like if Ann cooks, sometimes when she's done cooking, she'll just go right to the sink and just start doing her dishes. Or sometimes she'll just throw them in the sink and then I'll come along and do them. It's honestly, it's just whichever one of us is there. And we do them pretty evenly, but we don't have any kind of a rule. Because honestly, neither one of us really mind doing dishes all that much. I don't mind doing dishes. It's funny, we even have a dishwasher. We have a dishwasher, yet we usually, 95% of the time, we just do our dishes by hand. Just, now I'm sure if we had a couple of kids and there were a lot more dishes, we'd probably use the dishwasher more. But yeah, it's just, if I don't happen to feel like doing the dishes, I'll just leave them and Ann will probably do them. And if she doesn't do them, then probably, the next day I'm fine with doing them now. So now I'll do them. So yeah, we don't really have a rule. We just end up doing it. Joshua Howard writes, I still see Spider-Man 2 as the best Spider-Man film. I didn't hate Homecoming, just felt too different in my opinion. I would love to see Sam return. Well, Sam's not going to return, so don't even think about that, Joshua. But I'm with you. I think Spider-Man 2 with Doc Ock, I think that is the best Spider-Man movie. And for a while, you could make a solid, there was a lot of people out there who for a certain period of time thought Spider-Man 2 was probably the best comic book movie ever made. Now, I mentioned how about Man of Steel is in my top 10 comic book movies of all time. Spider-Man 2 is also in my top 10 Spider-Man or comic book movies of all time. It's a great one. And as much as I like Homecoming, and I think Homecoming's fantastic, despite the stupid Iron Man Jr. suit that Spider-Man wears for no reason whatsoever. But I love Homecoming. I think it's great. But I still think Spider-Man 2 is better. So, yeah, I'm with you on that. I think Spider-Man 2 is the best Spider-Man movie ever made. Unfortunately, the one that came after that was probably the worst Spider-Man movie ever made, Spider-Man 3. But, yeah, I'm with you on that. But that doesn't take away from the fact that I totally adored Homecoming. I thought Homecoming was great. Let's see. ZOMG Ruler writes, happy anniversary. Do you like Elton John? I'm not what you call an Elton John fan per se, but there's certainly a number of his tunes when I'm listening to like music and I've just got like, my Google Home just playing music and Elton John tunes. There's certainly a number of Elton John tunes that can come on that I really get into. So yeah, I wouldn't call myself an Elton John fan, but there's certainly a number of his songs that are really good that I quite like. And hey, he did Circle of Life. So I always gotta love him for that. He did Circle of Life. Let's see. Chris Parker writes, do you have a favorite portrayal of John F. Kennedy? I really enjoyed Greenwood's version in 13 Days, an underseen movie. That's the one with Kevin Costner, if I'm not mistaken. I like that movie a lot. I think that was an underrated, underappreciated movie. I thought 13 Days was actually pretty dark. Actually, now I got to look it up just to make sure. I think that's the one with Costner. 13 Days, Kevin Costner. Yep, that is the right one. So I also really enjoy it. My favorite rendition of John F. Kennedy. Boy, Greenwood's great. It'd be hard not to go with that one. You know what? I'd have to think about it because I don't walk around with, the great John F. Kennedy interpretations off the top of my head. But I'll be hard pressed not to go with the same one as you. So for now, I'll say that, but I reserve the right to change my mind later. But I think that's a really good one. That's a really good one to bring up. Rodney Hurd writes, Batman versus Dom. I think Batman would win because anything short of Jesus, Batman wins, and Dom isn't Jesus, so there you go. Hope you and Ann are doing good. Sorry for the loss of your dog. Yeah, that's the other really bummer thing. Got a call the other day. Ann got a call from my mom, who is still in hospital recovering. And thank you very much to everybody for your well wishes. But Ann got a call from my mom that one of our family dogs, Tiki, who you may have seen me put pictures up. Tiki's a huge dog. Like, Tiki's a big dog. And we have these two big family dogs back at the Campea Ranch. Tiki and Daisy. And they're both wonderful. And they love Anne, particularly Tiki. Tiki loved Anne. Like, whenever we were there at the house, Tiki would never leave Anne's side. Like, at all. Like, would never leave Anne's side. She loved Anne. Actually, here's a picture of Tiki here. Let me blow this up a little bit. There we go. There's Anne with Tiki. Tiki was such a great dog. I'll blow it up a little bit more. And as you can see, Tiki was a very big dog. Tiki was a very, very big dog. I remember I would joke around sometimes that it would be amazing because Tiki would just never leave Anne's side. She, for whatever reason, the first time I brought Anne home to Canada, for whatever reason, Tiki just immediately imprinted on her, or vice versa. Anne just immediately imprinted on Tiki, and Tiki just loved her, absolutely loved her, and Anne loved Tiki, and our other dog Daisy as well. And I remember I used to joke around that because they were also, these are two big dogs, and while they're wonderful family dogs, like, they're fiercely protective. And I remember I would joke around sometimes, it's like, I just kind of wish, just for the spectacle of it, that some home invader decided to break in right now and act threatening towards Anne. I would just want to sit back and eat the popcorn and watch what Tiki and Daisy would do to that individual. I mean, it would be horrific, blood-curdling, R-rated stuff that these dogs would do to anybody that would threaten Anne at that point. But I remember thinking it would be hilarious because Tiki, she loved Anne. And anyway, so yeah, my mom got a hold of Anne and let us know that Tiki passed away. And I'm not going to lie to you, I'm really sad. Not just because I love that dog, but I love the other dog, Daisy, too. And I'm going to get emotional thinking about it. My heart is actually breaking for my other dog, Daisy, who right now is all alone. Because they're also used to having my mom in the house, and my mom's in the hospital. And my dad's always at the hospital with my mom. And so now Daisy is there without Tiki, and my heart just breaks for my dog. And I've thought about getting on a plane and just, it's stupid how emotional I'm getting about this. I've thought about getting on a plane, and this is how stupid I am. I've thought about getting on a plane and just flying home just so Daisy wouldn't be alone. So Daisy won't be alone in the house. And my heart's absolutely, like, I'm going to miss Tiki completely, but my heart is just absolutely breaking for, my heart's breaking for my dog Daisy right now, because I know she's all alone, and she doesn't know where Tiki is. She doesn't know where my mom is. And yeah, it's kind of brutal. Anyway, sorry about that. I get worked up over the stupidest things. I'm sorry about that. Anyway, but thank you for the well wishes of our dog. Appreciate that. Hector Jeter writes, did you see any E3 game trailers? Nope, still haven't watched any of them. Generally what I do is I usually sit down and watch like these compilation videos, these like hour-long compilation videos that play all the key stuff. So I've kind of been waiting for that. So Anne's going to go to E3 tomorrow. And then probably after that, you'll start seeing these compilation videos come out, and then I'll probably sit down and watch them all in one big shot. Let's see. Oh my gosh, we only got a couple minutes left. Okay. Rodney Hurd writes, let's see. Where'd it go? Okay, there he is. Rodney Hurd writes, I believe that score to The Shadow is a great score. Same thing for the movie. I love The Shadow. The Shadow Knows. It's one of my favorite Alec Baldwin movies. And a lot of people forget, so Ian McKellen is in that movie. He plays like the girl's dad, the scientist in it. I loved The Shadow when I was younger. I used to watch that movie all the time. And to this day, I still have a real fond spot in my heart for The Shadow. I still think it's great. I really do. I mean, you look at, and here's the funny thing. There was this knife, right, in The Shadow, and it was CG animated. Now, you look at it now, it's completely dated. It looks ridiculous. But at the time, it was revolutionary. It was revolutionary. Like, this knife would come to life and stuff like that. Like, it was revolutionary. It looks ridiculous today, sure. But at the time, it was revolutionary. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of The Shadow. Let's see. Agaliasis writes, how will the MCU market Homecoming 2 without spoiling it? Oh my God. Agliasis, this is a question we've gotten like 5,000 times. How will the MCU market Homecoming 2 without spoiling Avengers 4? Also, my guilty pleasure makes me really guilty, Dungeons & Dragons. Okay, that I will convict you of guilty pleasure. I don't know anything enjoyable. If you're talking about the Jeremy Irons one, I don't know anything enjoyable about that Dungeons & Dragons movie. Oh my God, that movie is so bad. It's so bad. So bad. But hey, that's why all film is subjective, my man. And that's why you call it a guilty pleasure. So there you go. As far as how they will market Homecoming 2, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, I really don't. There's 500 different possibilities the way you can go about it. It really all depends on what they're going to like. They may start advertising Avengers. They could start advertising Avengers 4, which kind of reveals what happens to Spider-Man. And then you can put out in Spider-Man marketing what's going to happen without really giving away anything that happens in Avengers 4. I mean, so there's really lots of options which way they're going to go. We're just going to have to sit and wait and see what their plans are. Let's see. Miles Pardo writes, AT&T deal approved, Comcast/Fox about to get real. Yeah, remember, the drama behind the whole Fox situation, whether the government, and remember, just because it goes through on AT&T, that doesn't mean it's automatically going to go through for the Fox deal. It does take one of the hurdles out of the way, but it doesn't mean it's an automatically safe thing. Not at all. And then there's other drama. Comcast, Disney, who's going to, all this. Still a lot of balls up in the air. So we're going to have to wait and see. But it does make it, this AT&T decision will make it at least a little bit easier for whether it's Comcast or Disney to get their deal finalized and approved and pushed through. Let's see. Kodwo Okosa Ama writes, congrats to you and Ann. More years to you guys. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, I can't wait for Ann to get home. We're going out to this place for dinner. She says it's got a great view. I've never been there myself, but she has. She says it's great. And I haven't eaten today, so I'm starving. So, yeah, there's that too. One Absent Good writes, what do you think about AT&T buying Time Warner? I'm fine with it. I mean, I don't know really what this all is going to mean. You know, what kind of big changes are we going to see? Are we going to see them want to change the corporate culture of Time Warner and by extension Warner Brothers? Because as a movie guy, my biggest point of interest in this is Warner Brothers as a part of it. So I'm fine with it. Because remember, I worked for AMC Theaters when another giant company, the Chinese company Wanda, came in and bought us out. And you know what happened? Nothing. Nothing changed. So I was a part of one big corporate takeover where literally nothing changed. Like our board of directors stayed the same, our CEO stayed the same, my day-to-day job, nothing changed. Like seriously, it was like I could have not known that another company taken over and I never would have noticed the difference. Then you get some corporate takeovers where they change everything. So it's really hard to know or to say, what does AT&T have in mind for Time Warner generally, but specifically, do they have any plans for Warner Brothers? Or are they going to be like my corporate takeover when Wanda came and took over AMC, that we're now the owners, but you guys seem to be running fine. We're going to let you just run it. So I don't know. We're just going to have to wait and see, I think. John G writes, thoughts on Last of Us 2 gameplay that was released. Haven't seen it yet, so I can't comment on it. Haven't seen it yet. I know I loved The Last of Us 2 teaser trailer, but I have not seen any of the gameplay stuff yet. Hector Jeter writes, Battlefield had a premiere. IMDb has pics of it. Well, there you go. They did a premiere, and I'm sure it must have been a lot of fake, wow, congratulations, your movie's so good. There must have been a lot of that at it. Warrington Train Spotter 2778. All right, and this is the final question of the day because we're already at an hour. And by the way, any of you guys who have sent in live questions that I didn't have time to get around to, don't worry about it. I'm going to take it, add it, and there's going to be in the next companion video. So don't worry, I will get your questions, but this will be the last one for the day. And Warrington Train Spotter 2778 writes, have you ever walked out of a movie theater because the movie was so bad? I have walked out of the movies, I believe 3 times, maybe 4. Once was for a Jennifer Connelly movie called Dark Water, which was atrocious. Once was for movie 42, one with like 50 different Hollywood stars and it's just a bunch of skits. It was dreadful, just awful. Once was for the Johnny Knoxville movie, The Ringer. I thought it was horrible and completely offensive at the same time. And I feel like there was a 4th one. You know, I would have walked out of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's Beach or Baywatch. I would have walked out of that, but I was actually at Paramount Studios. Like I was invited to Paramount Studios and I was sitting in a theater on the Paramount Studios lot with a Paramount Studios rep sitting like 5 feet from me watching Baywatch. I would have walked out of that screening, but I felt too awkward walking out. So that probably would have been the 4th one I would have walked out of in my life. But yeah, 3 times at least I've walked out of films. Doesn't happen often, but it happens from time to time. All right, guys, that will do it for this installment of Open Mic. Thank you so much for joining me. This was a lot of fun. Once again, if you guys sent in live questions I didn't have time to get to, don't you worry about it. I'm going to take those questions, use them on the next companion video. I might play a little bit of Warcraft later tonight before going to bed. So if any of you guys like the play and chat stuff, come on back and join me for that. Don't forget, tomorrow morning, the John Campea Show, 8:30 in the morning, our main movie news show. We got a lot of stuff to talk about already, obviously, with things like the Bryan Singer director credit story. We got the AT&T story, a lot of other things to talk about. That's going to be tomorrow morning on the John Campea Show. Make sure you join us and share the video around, all that kind of good stuff. All right, guys. That will do it for me. Thanks a lot for joining me. My name is John Campea, and until my next video, bye-bye.